Semifinals. I'm super excited to be here. We have Ruben versus Brooklyn. We are on a little bit of a tight schedule, so I'm gonna do a quick introduction of each person. Yeah, I can speak correctly, did I? We're gonna go over to Ruben first. Ruben, how are you feeling? Are you excited for this match today?
Yeah. I'm pumped. I mean, I feel like crap, but that's my own fault. It was my friend's birthday party yesterday. Got drunk like an idiot. As far as the match itself, I studied my ass off. I actually love this league more than I love any other league out there, just because I love video games. Last match, I didn't have a chance to prepare myself completely, and I barely managed to slide on by. Got lucky on the last question because it was something I was very, very familiar with. So this match, I want to make sure I prove myself. I want to make sure I take down probably one of the Goliaths of the leagues, just because I think Brooklyn's one of the best debaters out there. But I love a good underdog story. So I'm going to give it my best. I studied my ass off. And just because Brooklyn's the Goliath doesn't mean he's unbeatable. So let's do it.
Absolutely. And we're gonna go over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, how are you feeling about being in the semifinals? Are you excited for this match?
Very excited. Was not expecting to go up against Ruben. I think whenever he originally recorded my match against Eli, I had originally anticipated going up against Jay, but obviously something happened. Then Ruben faced Doug. But I've seen Ruben compete before. His orgasm match, he did really well. He showed where he's really good. But I think I'm able to use sort of that information to come up with a good strategy.
Perfect. And I'm going to leave it on this screen. Let's go over to Jacob. Jacob, how are you feeling? Good, sir. Are you ready for this match?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Ruben, I will tell you, Brooklyn is beatable. It's great to see him again after a little rivalry that we've brought up. But yeah, I'm excited to judge this.
All right, bringing in tension from other matches. That's awesome. Now I'm just playing. Matt, how are you feeling? Are you excited for the semifinals of Gamezone?
Of course I am. Come on now. I've seen Brooklyn debate before. I know he can. Like Jacob said, he is beatable. So Kingslayer, do your best. Let's fight it out.
Absolutely. And we're going to go over to the first question, and we're going. Just give everybody heads up, Ruben, you are going up first, but we're going to explain the rules real quick before we do that. We have 4 main round debate questions. Each one is 90 seconds, 5 minutes, and 1 minute. There is a time extension, which we call the extra life. You get an extra minute you get 1 extra minute either in your opening or closing of one of your questions. Judges, let's keep it to 20 to 30 seconds. Also, there's one new rule that we've added. If you've seen a match so far, you already know what it is. It is the pause button. If the pause button gets ignited, it's because our 2 competitors keep talking over each other and we can't hear them. We take them, calm them down. After they calm down, there's a 20-second wait period, and we begin debating again. So let's jump right into it. We're going to Ruben first. Ruben, the question on the table for your opener: best weapon in Smash Brothers. You got 1:30 on the table when you begin talking.
Okay, so for me, I'm trying to look at a weapon that kind of is the best, the most powerful, the pretty much an item that actually excels in different areas. And the first thing that comes to mind is something that packs a hell of a punch, something that actually has some range because you can toss it and it still packs hell of a punch. And that's the home run bat. There were many other options I could have chose. The reason why I chose this item is because it's an item that can actually take someone out of the game. All they have to do is get like above 50%, and they can easily be knocked out of the map. And it's even worse in the earlier games. I want to go ahead and say that the hammer bat, as far as range goes, even though like I said, you don't have to hit the opponent, you can toss the item, and that item is one of the strongest, most powerful items when you're tossing at your opponents, especially if they're off the map and they're trying to get back on the map. Tossing that little bitch will knock that little bitch out of the match. So it's very, very powerful, very strong. So I got a lot to say, but I'm going to be focusing on tearing down Brooklyn's little choice.
All right, of course you are. We're going to go over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, again, the question is best weapon in the Smash Bros. Series.
All right, so let's talk about Smash Bros. Itself, and the big thing about Smash Bros. Is momentum, and the best uses, the best weapon would be the heart case. It's found in Legend of Zelda. Essentially, what this does is it reduces all the damage that you've taken from that stock. It's essentially a reset. They say that offense wins games, but defense wins championships, and this is the best defensive weapon that you can use. And I'll present my time until the free form.
All right, guys. You guys got 5 minutes on the clock, as usual during any other normal debate. It's the two of you. We got the heart case versus the home run bat. 5 minutes on the clock, and when you guys start talking.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. So first off, let me go ahead and I have a couple of reasons why yours shouldn't even be qualified. Let's go and start with the fact that best weapon, as much as the heart case is a great item, it's a fantastic item, it's a very useful item. The reason why I didn't pick it is because the question is best weapon in Smash Bros. Series. You can say it's a defensive weapon, but as far as I'm concerned, the heart case is not a weapon. It's an item. It's an item that is used to pretty much help out your player. And again, it still focuses on how well of a player you are, because once again, the hard case, just all it does is clear up your percentage. It doesn't really help you defeat your opponent that much, especially if you're not that great at the game. Whereas the home run bat, you can actually take out anybody in the game. You can take out some of the best competitors. All you have to do is get one good fucking hit in, and they're done. It's game over for them.
Alrighty, so if this wasn't a weapon, the judges wouldn't have accepted my answer. So let's get rid of that argument right out of the gate. Yes, the very hard skill of literally pressing the A button as you go up right to the stage. It's a one-click thing. The home run bat's very high risk, high reward, and you talk about it kills at 50%. There's actually a smash ball that kills at 30%, and you don't even need there's so much setup in the animation. And you talk about items that kill off a toss. Like, why wouldn't you just use like a Mr. Saturn or a Shell or literally anything else? Your item can also be countered. Anybody that has a down B, like your Foxes and your Ryus, that those things can be countered. Whereas if you're going offense, Smash Ball is the correct answer because there's no way to counter that.
Okay, so let's go and go back over to your hard case then. Okay, so and focusing on the home run bat, whenever you say it can be countered, I agree. I 100% agree it can be countered. But to be fair, a lot of the items can be countered except for your hard case. But the argument I'm trying to make right now is I'm trying to find an item that actually is powerful, that item that is actually used to actually take out an opponent, and an item that can be used multiple occasions by anybody really that can use it to actually defeat their opponent. Again, going back to the hard case. If you're not a good player, your percentage is just going to get right back up there. And if you want to start talking about other items you could have chose better, if you wanted something that had a better life or something, why not choose the 1-up life? You could have easily just used that, and it's the same thing, except for you get a whole nother fucking life. And so what I'm trying to say is that the home run bat itself is powerful, that even a rookie player can take out some of the best players with it. And yeah, it can be countered, but to be fair, a lot of items can be countered. It's all about timing, and that's what it comes down to. And I think that this item can be used very well by anybody.
You're trying to present your argument, but you're failing. The 1-up life is the frequency or the encounter rate of it is significantly lower. So you can't really depend on that item. You think about Smash Bros. Itself, and you think about momentum. If you're leading your opponent, like say you have 50% and your opponent has 100%. If they pick up that heart case, which is literally just point and click, that changes things. That changes how a fighter is supposed to adapt to the strategy. Home run bat, you have to sit there and hold A for like 2 seconds, and you leave yourself open and so vulnerable. If I have a long distance character like a Fox or a Falco or a Mario, I can literally just spam fireballs, and if he tosses it, it's literally just a jump. I don't understand why the tossing is such a key point in your argument.
Because the home run bat, the item itself is powerful. Like a hit from that can destroy you, and it's more powerful than other items too. Whenever it hits like that, okay. So when you toss the home run bat, it has a good amount of range. So whenever let me put it this way: you just brought up a 50%, 100% situation. Okay, so you grab the hard case, you drop down to 0%. Okay, but guess what? The home run bat itself, you can use as a weapon. You can help it bring down your percentage. You don't have to get yourself all the way back up to 100% to go ahead and defeat you. I just got to get you up to 50% and then get you out of the match. Whereas as you're using a hard case to kind of lower you back down, You still got to keep beating on me for a while. Give me up to like 90, maybe 70 if you're lucky. The home run bat itself doesn't need you to be that high. I can destroy you at 50% if I really wanted to.
Kind of lower back down. It literally eliminates any health that you had taken during that stock. People who like that home run bat weapon, they already have that character. That's Ness. Ness's forward smash and side smash are both using home run bats. So for an item that's already integrated into a character, that can't be the best if it's already used for a character.
Let's talk about that for a sec, because Ness's side B is actually nowhere near as powerful as a home run bat. And the reason why they started incorporating all these like side B moves that are similar to the bat is because how powerful the bat is. They literally create a home run derby because of how powerful the bat can be, and it shows how powerful the bat is in our own little mini game. That's how powerful.
All right,
Fuck.
we're gonna put a minute on the clock. We're going back to Ruben for his close. If you start it, you end it. If you start it, you do the closings first, like how it works in Nerd Fight and Game Zone. Minute on the clock when you start talking. Tell us why the home run bat is better than the heart case.
Brooklyn earlier said that the reason why that the heart case is automatically classified as weapon is because the judges didn't turn it down. That's not the argument I'm trying to make. I'm trying to say that, does that make it the best weapon? He wants to make it as a defensive weapon. It's not. It's not a weapon, in my opinion. It's something that's being used to actually destroy your opponent. Something that is being used to defeat your opponent. Even a shield's technically not considered a weapon unless you're Captain America throwing the shield at people. That is the definition of a weapon. As far as the home run bat versus the heart case, even if we actually consider the heart case being a weapon, the home run bat has power. It has range. Even the rookiest of any player can defeat the best of any player. All they have to know is how to use the bat, which is very simple. As Broken pointed out, it's pretty much just one side button. That's all it is. And yeah, it takes 2 seconds, but guess what? That is going to pay off. You can use it as tossing. You get range off of it. You hit someone off with the home run bat, then you run them to the edge and toss the bat at them.
All right. Minute on the clock. Brooklyn, tell us why the heart case is a better weapon versus the home run bat.
Doug, Matt Graham, Jacob, my opponent literally just wasted half of his opening because he feels that my answer is not validated. That's nonsensical. The heart case literally changes momentum. You could have 200, 300%, not like the Maxim tomato. The Maxim tomato only reduces half. The heart case reduces all damage, which changes the momentum. I bring up again for the home run bat. If you're going offensive, you have to pick the smash ball. It has been well documented over various YouTube videos for every character that the smash ball kills at like 30%, maybe even 40% at its highest. So if you're gonna go offensive, you didn't even pick the right one.
All right. Conceding the rest of your time?
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. All right. Of course, I'm not going to go ahead and make the decision first. I'm going to go over to Jacob. Jacob, where are you lying on this home run bat versus the heart case? Make a little sense of this for me.
Okay, I just want to get something off my chest first. It is not the heart case. It is the heart container. And that I'm sorry, that was just driving me insane the entire time, calling it the heart case. Heart container, guys. But I mean, this was a really good match. I mean, offense versus defense. Both brought up good points. But I'm gonna have to go with Brooklyn just because he was not only was he able to explain why his was better, he was also knocking against Ruben, where I didn't really hear Ruben knock much against the heart container. So I'm gonna have to give it to Brooklyn.
All right. So Jacob likes to emphasize on the correct uses of the words heart container versus home run bat. Matt, who do you got, and quick reason why?
First off, Jacob, I don't give a shit what it's called. I know what it is. I play the game. I'm sure everybody does. There was one sentence that stuck out in this whole match is offense wins games and defense wins championships. So that kind of stuck out. There was really no defense to that. Brooklyn gets the point.
And Ruben and Brooklyn did get the point. We're coming back to question 2, Modern Classic. Brooklyn, you're going to take this one first. So which Modern Classic game that already is not an open world do you wish was? You have a minute and 30 seconds on the clock when you're ready to start talking.
All right, so my answer for this question is actually going back to the question that we talked about previously, is Super Smash Bros. In particular, Super Smash Bros. Melee. In later iterations of the game, like Brawl, Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, they would tease some sort of story mode, but in Brawl they would sort of limit that to like a 3D platformer, and with Ultimate they would limit it to more sort of towards like a sort of a point and click thing with fighting elements into it. Super Smash Bros. Melee could really benefit from an open world because it's already considered one of the greatest fighting games in the world. If you add open world, it's considered one of the greatest games ever. There's so much story that you can pack into it, and I will add on to my free form.
All right, perfect. We're going to go ahead and go over to Ruben. Ruben, a minute and 30 on your clock. When you start, which modern classic game that already is not an open world do you wish was?
Okay, so whenever I'm thinking about modern classic game that actually would make an amazing open world, I'm trying to think of a game that actually where we actually want to explore more, where it's actually possible, and where we can actually see the character, the game itself being developed even more so, and it would actually improve from becoming an open world game. And without a doubt, Alan Wake, I think, is 100% the perfect game for that. Alan Wake is, I don't know if, obviously, you know, it's a little lesser known game, but for those actual true gamers, I'm pretty sure all 5 of us have heard of it. Alan Wake is a game that actually tests the mind, the psychology of a character, and on an island about like darkness being like the main enemy. And there's so much going on it. There's so much to explore on that island that I would love to see it as an open world. I think it would add to the thrills. I think it would add to the horror. I think it would make the game more exciting. I think it would make it more of an adventure. And I think it would actually, more importantly, improve from being an open world, not actually hurt itself by being an open world. And I'll get into that more later.
All right. You guys have 5 minutes on the clock. When one of you start talking, go ahead. Which world is better suited for an open world?
All right, so I'll go first here. Alan Wake is a great game. It's a game that I've played before. The reason why it won't work in open world is because of like the psychological thriller aspect. The writers need to really take you on an adventure, and like that sort of linear sort of storyline is where that works. You look at something like LA Noire or like these other games where they have like, oh, it's like if you pick this option here, you have to go there. That's what you're sort of pitching with Alan Wake, and that doesn't really work. You look at like Super Smash Bros. Melee, and you look at like Mortal Kombat, one of the greatest fighting franchises ever. I played maybe 2 of those games, but I've watched all of their stories because you're able to pack so much story. And if you literally just apply that concept into Super Smash Bros. Melee, you're talking about one of the greatest games ever.
Okay, all right, so let's go and talk about this for a sec, because you actually brought up 2 really good points, because I was going to bring up Mortal Kombat for a whole different reason. But let me go ahead and start with the fact that you said that Alan Wake wouldn't work as an open world because the psychology... sorry. I can't even say the word I'm
psychological thriller?
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go focus on that a little bit. It actually has been done before and actually worked really well. It's called Silent Hill. It's a that is a perfect example right there of that this game could easily excel. And I think Alan Wake is a far superior game. It could be much more superior if it takes those aspects from Silent Hill about being an open world game. Imagine playing on that island in the darkness with those monsters coming out anywhere, not just going with the linear story. Now let's talk about Smash Bros. And you brought up Mortal Kombat. I actually love the idea that you brought up Mortal Kombat because I am buzzed and kind of drunk and I can't exactly remember the exact name of the title, but I believe Mortal Kombat has actually tried doing an open world before. Specifically, I believe it was Deception, or something like that. And basically, in that game, it was one of the worst Mortal Kombat games ever because what it did, it actually made a fighting game, an open world game, and then it actually ruined the game because it was so weird. It was so forced, and you literally had to go talk to someone and be like, hey, what's up? And then you have to fight because you can't take the fighting aspect out of a fighting game.
Okay, so with Silent Hill, obviously, like that's more horror, and that really focuses on the scares. In Alan Wake, the enemies already come at you from everywhere. They're not like coming straight forward at you. They're coming from the side. They're coming from behind. Essentially, I think what you're trying to pitch for Alan Wake is that you want to do more side quests. with Super Smash Bros. And really Nintendo in general, there have been a lot of fan theories of like, oh, well, like Mario and Donkey Kong are like connected like in this, like maybe their games are in the same universe. Kirby is like a distant planet from Mario. You could add so much fan service to it by really connecting the stories, and you already have like what they're doing with Mario already with already that 3D open world. You can just literally apply that to Melee, and that would work. Sure, Mortal Kombat, that was one shitty open world game, but they have that story. Nintendo can just do it better.
Okay, we're not really talking about the story, though. We're talking about making a fighting game in open world, and I've never seen that done. I've never seen it actually be done successful, actually, is the words I'm looking for. And there's a reason for that. Now, let's talk about how you said that there could be a whole bunch of different type of worlds with these different Smash Bros. Characters. There is. It's called their solo video games. They have that. They don't need all that in one single game. It would ruin all those stories trying to put them all inside one single game. It would be a horrible mashup. It would take away a lot of elements out of the game because of how much stuff they would have to impact into that game. And then it would ruin the game. You don't want to take a fighting game. I think the fighting game is the worst choice you can choose for this category, because you don't want to take a fighting game and make an open world when it's supposed to be focused on a fighting game. Like it takes those elements, it ruins those elements, and it would ruin Smash Bros. For everybody, just like it ruined Mortal Kombat for a good while before it made its comeback.
But Smash Bros. has succeeded by adding in the story, but they just use 3D platformers or like a point and click thing. You would use that open world to really enhance the story that they had tried previously. You would talk about like they would take out elements of Smash Bros. Melee. You literally take out like the shitty stages and the shitty music, like Poke Float, a game like Ultimate where they're like, oh, we're gonna bring back all the stages. They took out like 3 or 4 stages from Melee, so that you literally just take out all the shitty stuff from Melee. You just add in that open world concept that would already be appeasing to fans, because fans have already speculated that Nintendo was essentially an open world universe. I just don't understand why you're tackling that.
So let's focus on that. You said you want to take out some stages. Guess what? You're taking some of the biggest elements out of a fantastic game. You're taking out more. The whole point of Smash Bros. Is that you have all these different worlds, levels, and characters all battling on these different levels. You're taking those elements out to make an open world, which doesn't help its case at all.
All right, and we're back, and we're going into the closing. Brooklyn, you started us on the openings. You're going to start us on the closing. We got a minute on the clock whenever you start talking.
All right, so while my opponent likes to talk about, the enemies would come from far and behind, backwards, forwards, leftwards, rightwards, either way, the enemies already come from that. Essentially, what my opponent is trying to pitch with Alan Wake is, I just want to add more side quests. I don't want to go on a linear path. I don't want to follow the system. Super Smash Bros. Melee would thrive from an open world because they had tried to take the concept of story, do it unsuccessfully with 3D platformers and point and clicks. And if you take that 3D open world concept, add it with a story mode, you would take what is considered one of the greatest fighting games, one of the greatest Nintendo games. It would become the greatest video game ever, because you would add on fan service to a game that already has exponential amounts of fan service. I rest my case.
All right. Sorry about that. I hit that button too early by mistake. All right. We're going over to Ruben. Ruben, minute on the clock when you start talking. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, yeah. Enemies jump out of nowhere in a regular linear story of Alan Wake. But what I'm talking about is the unpredictability. The fact that you can have an open world and enemies can jump out. Literally, the moments change. That's what open world is that you can explore everything and you can do it in any order. So that means the thrills, the excitement, everything, the monsters, all of it can actually change and jump out at you any point in time. That's what I mean by that. Not side quests, not nothing. I want to explore, and that's what I think I can get out of an open world Alan Wake game. You want to talk about Smash Bros. For a little bit? You're talking about putting a whole bunch of characters and stuff into an open world game. And the reason why it hasn't been done is because over with Mortal Kombat, they failed. They flopped really bad at it. And it's like taking a ton of information, a ton of characters, a ton of worlds, smash it into an open world, and it's going to be the worst open world because it's so much going on. And they have their solo games, and I love you all. Done.
All right, he ends it with a message of positivity. I love you all. We're going to go over to Matt. Matt, where are you feeling on this? Is Super Smash up your alley from what Brooklyn gave, or is Alan Wake up your alley? Which was the better pitched open world game?
This was tough. Like, this was kind of me flip-flopping through the whole thing. But I think I heard more explanation of why the other game wouldn't work so much from Brooklyn. So I think I'm going to have to go with Brooklyn.
Okay, so it's over to me, and my vote actually counts this time. This one was a little bit more tougher than I thought it was going to be. I had expectations from both players bringing in a really solid argument, and they did. When it comes to Alan Wake, Brooklyn kind of tore it down a little bit more. I understand Ruben's concept of this is a fighting game; it would be ruined by it. But he didn't really explain on how it would be ruined, besides maybe a couple players getting taken out. I don't know where Matt went, but we'll wait for him to come back. But the point is going to Brooklyn. All right, we're back up, and we're going over to question 3. Question 3 is that's not question 3. Question 3 is which level of hell in Dante's Inferno is the one most people should be afraid of. And we're going over to Ruben first. Ruben, you have 1:30 on the clock whenever you start talking.
Okay, so there's two different ways you can look at this question. You can look at it as a horror theme, like which one's the scariest level to be on, or you can look at it as the one that's the most difficult to be on. And I say, why not both? When you actually look at all the levels, there's one level that sticks out as being horrifying to look at, scary because of the type of monsters that are inside that level, and difficult because of the difficulty of the boss, along with all the fucking little bitches all over the place. And that's violence. More specifically, I think the blood just constantly all over that level, being waterfalls, lakes, all over that level, actually makes it terrifying and horrifying to look at. That's what gives it the horror aspect. And I think the final boss, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember his name because I'm not in the right state of mind right now, but he's best friends to Dante, and he is a very, very, very difficult boss to face off against. And he's a very terrifying boss to face off because there's nothing more terrifying than someone who wants to kick your ass because they're pissed off at you. So I'll see. I can see the rest of my time.
All right, going over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, 1:30 on the clock. Which level of hell in Dante's Inferno is the one that people should most be afraid of?
All right, so let's go to Dante's Inferno, and let's go to actually like the first third of the game. The part of the game that's actually revered by reviewers, and we'll go to Lust, which is I believe the third level of the game. You actually fight Cleopatra and Mark Antony. They are the final bosses of the game, of the level. A very demonized sort of version of them. Lust is considered one of the scariest ones, just because considering like the people in general. Of the deadlier sins, Lust is the one that is sort of approachable to everybody, is because everybody struggles with infidelity. Violence is really sort of a polarizing thing. And you look at like what you have to do in that level, like you have to kill prostitutes, you see some really gross nudity stuff, and that can be horrifying, it can be grotesque. But I'll offer it up to the rest of the free play.
All right, we have 5 minutes when one of you start talking. Tell us which is worse, Lust or violence.
Okay, so actually, Brooklyn, I have some news for you, actually. There's nudity throughout that entire game, like throughout the entire, all the levels, actually. Surprise, I know, it's shocking. But let me go and talk about your level. What's wrong with your level is that it's not horrifying. It's not extremely difficult. I will give it is very difficult. It's up there in the top 3 most difficult levels. But let me go ahead and actually talk to you about the world itself and why it doesn't fit the horror theme at all. There are little babies that do not make sense. It's the most disgusting thing to look at. Not horrifying, disgusting to look at. And it's the most awkward thing to look at, seeing like them crawling out of Cleopatra's like hits. Like it's weird. It's not horrifying. It's not scary. It's not difficult. It's just disgusting. Violence is something that you go into that puts you in an atmosphere. It puts you in a terrifying atmosphere of being scared constantly because you never know what's going to happen. You see blood all over the place and you think something's going to jump out at you. And I'm gonna actually jump over, let you get some time because I took a lot of time.
So like violence is considered the eighth level of the damn circle or the levels or whatever. Even in the 8th level, like the first 10 seconds of that level, there's literally 2 objects that are super highlighted. So like, hey dummies, in case you don't know how to play a fucking game, here are the items that you have to break to progress through the level. In the 8th level of a 9-level game, you shouldn't have to do that. You as a player, throughout the course of hours, you're able to figure out what to do. You talk about babies coming out of Cleopatra's tits. If I'm a horror producer, I'm like, let's book that into a film. That's scary as fuck. That's stuff that nightmares are made of. And considering like you talk about like Cleopatra, Mark Antony, these often like medieval, not even medieval, but like ancient characters that are dim and proper, to have them be these demon grotesque forms. Disgusting can be scary, and that's something that people are afraid of.
Okay, so let's talk about a couple of those things that you actually brought up. You brought up how the violence level, actually, the items are highlighted, what you're supposed to use and stuff. Okay, I don't know if you actually play that level, but do you remember climbing down that mountain, climbing down the cliff to get into the level of violence, and how difficult it is jumping from side to side, finding exactly where you need to go next? I was confused completely on that part. That beginning section of violence confused the shit out of me. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea where to go. As far as your horror theme about when you talk about Cleopatra, so she might be a historical character, but there's nothing about her specifically that drives her emotions to kind of make me fear her. Whereas I look at Dante's best friend, he has a reason to be pissed off at Dante. He is coming at you hard. He is like, fuck, man, I'm dead. You didn't care. I'm dead because of you. You let me sacrifice myself for you. How dare you? He is coming hard at you. And it's terrifying because his face shows all that emotion, how pissed off he is. And I feel like he's gonna come to the TV and smash me. That's how terrifying that boss is.
Yes, the very difficult opening level, opening part of violence, where it's literally zip line to zip line to zip line. You just have to go where they interact and literally just press A and jump down. You talk about there's nothing scary about Cleopatra, yet you literally mentioned that like these zombie babies come out of her tits. Your level of violence where it's like, oh, it's a friend, or it's like killing a betrayal. That isn't afraid. That's angry, and that's vengeance. I would understand if there was there was more backstory where it's like, oh well, he brutally murdered this person, or this and that. But yours isn't necessarily like something people should be afraid of. This is like, oh, this is actually like a decent revenge story that I'm kind of interested in.
No, okay. I'm sorry. Have you seen his face? Have you actually looked at the game and stared into the TV when he's fucking pissed off at you and he's coming for you? That is terrifying. It doesn't matter if it's for vengeance or the motivation behind it, but because of he's going for vengeance, that's what gives him the emotion to be pissed off. That's what gives him the emotion to come at you so hard and make you so terrified. And again, like I said, the whole little babies coming out of tits, all right, I give you. It's disgusting. It's creepy. Okay, fine, whatever. But it's not terrifying. It's not horrifying. It's something that is done really bad. Something that kind of like it seems really weird to me and a waste of time. And there's so much more in violence. The atmosphere itself. You haven't talked about your level's atmosphere at all. The atmosphere and violence actually puts up a horrifying scene. I feel like I'm walking into a Jigsaw horror fucking film. That's what I feel like when I walk into violence.
I haven't talked about the atmosphere of Dante's Inferno because it's literally the same through all 9 levels. It's the same atmosphere. You just apply different like minor styles to the various levels. We're talking about hell here. Hell doesn't change. Hell doesn't change from like sunshine and rainbows to like death and gore within one level. There's going to be an atmosphere that's consistent throughout the game.
Time. All right, perfect timing, guys. We're gonna go over to Ruben. Ruben, you got a minute on the clock. When you start talking, close us out for this question.
Let me paint a picture for you guys real quick, okay? What seems more terrifying, more horrifying to walk into? A cave, like a full opening of just blood everywhere, a waterfall full of blood, a lake full of blood, monsters jumping out of you, monsters jumping from all over every single angle, coming at you, different sizes, different creatures, different everything come at you, or a couple babies crawling out of mom's nipples. It's not that hard of an argument. It's terrifying to walk into violence. The atmosphere, he hasn't talked about his atmosphere. He wants to say all the levels of hell are the same. I'm sorry, you did not play that game completely through. Those levels change drastically. There are a couple, I will give you, there are a couple that actually blend together really well. But when you look at violence and you look at lust, they're completely two different atmospheres. There's one that's terrifying, bloody, gory, vengeful. Everything about violence scares the hell out of any players. Whereas Lust, it's just awkward. It's more of a great scene with fantastic historic characters. That's all it is.
Time. All right, Brooklyn, we're going over to your minute for your close. Whenever you're ready.
All right. So let's go back into the free form. I got my opponent to concede essentially that the point that he was trying to attack, and he's like, oh no, I'm actually wrong. The whole baby zombie Cleopatra thing is actually scary. The atmosphere argument doesn't really make sense. It's hell. It's not like a 9-layer cake. It's not a 9-layer sandwich. It's hell. It's gonna be the same thing. If we're basing gore and blood off of terrifying things, then like Mortal Kombat should be considered like one of the scariest games ever. Lust shouldn't be scary, but it's one of the scariest games because it takes concepts that should be simple and dials them up to 11.
All right. All right, and it looks like I'm going to go ahead and go first for this one. I'm excited to see where the rest of my judges are feeling. So I liked Brooklyn's argument. I like Ruben's argument. When it comes down to horror or scaring, it depends on what aspect you're looking at. While gore can be very scary, so can tense moments. And the one point that Ruben hit him on, he kind of backpedaled. That the basic nature of the zombie tit babies wasn't creepy. I fixed it for you, Ruben. I saw what you said. I saw your 1 minute thing. You said it was creepy. Creepy can be scary, and you backpedaled a little bit on that. And when he kept hitting you, it kind of like you weren't denying a lot of it. I didn't see you fight back a lot of the questions that he gave. So my point is going to Brooklyn. We're going to go over to Jacob. Jacob, how you feeling on this one?
I mean, I don't care what anyone says. Zombie babies are terrifying, especially if they're coming out of tits.
Zombie baby and tit babies.
Yeah. But, I mean, I heard a lot of back and forth between the two of them, but I really heard Brooklyn, like, trying to hammer zombie babies, and his area is going to be the same because it's all hell. But I really feel Ruben did a better job of combating why, well, yes, it's all hell. You're still in a different atmosphere with his level. So I'm leaning towards Ruben on this one.
All right, and Matt, where are you leaning?
Well, this is hard because you've got a really great back and forth between the two of them. But like Doug, like you said, Brooklyn would throw some jabs at him, and then he would not push back a little, but then he would try and make a different point, and Brooklyn would go back to the point he made and continue to hammer it in. So unfortunately, it just felt like there was some points left on the table. So I got to go with Brooklyn.
Okay, and with that being said, and your winner of the semifinals of the right side of the bracket, Brooklyn Vail. Brooklyn, we're going to go to you first, good sir. We'll go to this post interview. I know that you got to get out of here, so we'll go to you first. Brooklyn, how are you feeling about the match? How are you feeling about TKOing, or not TKOing, KOing your opponent and moving on to the finals?
Well, wasn't expecting to win on that question. Beforehand, I predicted winning this 3-1, but I thought I was going to win on the next question. I've never played Dante's Inferno, and anybody that I went to for studying, like out of the 6 people that I went to, only one person actually ever played the game. So I had to do some research that I wanted to. But you know, I think Ruben's a great competitor. He really gave me a fight. I always say in debate that the score doesn't really reflect the performance. I think Ruben has good potential moving forward. I think there just needs to be a foundation, and there's some strategical aspects that he can add that will make him a really dominant fighter in the league.
Absolutely. And Ruben, I know this isn't how you wanted to end your tournament route. You know, you're in the running when we get the rosters up. You're in the running when we get the rosters up for nerd fights as well. So how are you feeling today? I know this one hits you a little hard, but how are you feeling overall about your performance?
Honestly, I'm kind of pissed, and no offense to the judges, but I really, truly felt like I won the last two. I definitely got my ass kicked in the first one, 100%. And I have no problem admitting that. But definitely the Dante's Inferno. I was surprised that I did not get that one in a clean sweep, and I don't know why, because you can easily tell that Brooklyn didn't know what he was talking about. No offense to you, Brooklyn. But I don't know what happened. Like, I studied my ass off. I played all these games just to make sure I did well on this, and I still lost. So I don't know. It makes me want to be done with these debate things, because at least trivia, there's nothing like my game isn't relying on other people's decisions and people's opinions. Trivia, I can actually have full power on what happens to me, whereas I don't have to let people make decisions and opinions that I don't necessarily agree in. And again, not taking away from Brooklyn, not taking away from judges, but I can kind of give a little sway to the second question. But the third question, there is no way I should have lost that one. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I just don't understand what happened there.
Understandable. It's easy to get frustrated when you lose these things. Trust me, I know. Trust me, probably everybody at this panel knows it gets frustrating when you think you won questions that, just didn't go in your favor. It just happens. The best bet is to brush it off and get ready for the next match. That's the best advice I can give for anybody. It sucks, and I'm not going to take away from it that it doesn't suck. But with that being said, you have nothing to hold your head down about, because you fought valiantly through each question. It wasn't like it was a complete knockout out of, you didn't fight. It's just Brooklyn fought better. But Brooklyn just fought better in those questions. It's not that you're not that you're not a good competitor. You are. But let's go over to Jacob. Jacob, how are you feeling about the match?
Yeah, that was a good match. Again, Ruben, don't hold your head down. You are a great debater. I was there for your first one against Doug, and you brought it against him. That was a great match. This was great too. I would have loved to been a fly on the Vail's house wall, having Brooklyn's wife come in with Brooklyn studying, watching that scene of those zombie babies. That would have been great to see.
It's called Tuesday.
It's called Tuesday. With that being said, let's go over to Matt. Matt, how are you feeling about the match? What's your viewpoints? And are you ready for the finals, for the Gamezone Finals?
Well, first off, Ruben, trust me. Last match I played against James Spence, and I had an uphill battle. I was debating Rocky over A New Hope, which is the better action film. So trust me, I know how it feels to be in that. I trust me that those last two rounds, it was a flip of a coin. I was stuck all the way through the end. Your guys' debates do not reflect in the score. Do not hold your head down. I promise that it sucks. It's just a flip of a coin how the judges roll. Brooklyn, you brought it as you always do. I was head judge of one of your matches before. You can ask Doug, Ruben. I gave him a question. Mortal Kombat. It came down to Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter. So it's just how the judges feel. Both of you competed with admirable stance. Let's bring on the finals.
All right. Let's round this off. As always, I am your commissioner, one of your judges on the regular, usually, Doug Castle. For myself, Jacob, Matt, Ruben, Brooklyn, guys,